Hey, everybody, this is Joe Joseph, and this is the DailySheeple.com's news shot. So to LouRockwell.com we go. There, they have the latest Patrick Buchanan piece, Too Many Wars, Too Many Enemies. How many times have you heard independent media, libertarians, even some people on the right, and on the left, they all seem to think that we're in too many places at once. As a matter of fact, I think we're in every place too much. It says here, if Turkey's not bluffing, U.S. troops in Manbij, Syria, could be under fire by week's end, and NATO engulfed in the worst crisis in its history. Turkish President Erdogan said Friday his troops will cleanse Manbij of Kurdish fighters, alongside whom U.S. troops are embedded. Erdogan's foreign minister demanded concrete steps by the U.S. to end its support of the Kurds, who control the Syrian border with eastern Turkey, with Turkey east of the Euphrates, all the way to Iraq. Now, if the Turks attack Manbij, the U.S. will face a choice: stand by our Kurdish allies and resist the Turks, or abandon the Kurds. So should the U.S. let the Turks drive the Kurds out of Manbij, or, does U.S. suffer, we'll put it this way. If we did do that and we stood by the Kurds, now, Turkey is our ally. I say that in quotations. But if it were to be found that we had troops embedded in Syria, for real, and they were killed, as a result of this, it would really be a blow to U.S. credibility within the globalist circle. Not within us, but within the globalist circle. And it's a damn shame, by the way, folks, that our men and women who sign up oftentimes thinking that they're going into it defending the Constitution. It is totally not defending the Constitution. It's such cognitive dissonance that these poor people, including myself, because I was sold a bill of goods and I didn't realize it till after the fact, that you sign up thinking that, oh, yes, I'm making a great sacrifice. Well, you're making a great sacrifice, but for what? Turkey also sits astride the Dardanelles entrance to the Black Sea. Now, NATO's loss of Turkey would thus be a triumph for Vladimir Putin, who gave Ankara the green light to cleanse the Kurds from Afrin. Yet Syria is but one of many challenges to U.S. foreign policy. See, the Winter Olympics in South Korea may have taken the threat of a North Korean ICBM that could hit the U.S. out of the news, but no one believes that that threat is behind us. Is it? Can anybody say for a certainty that it is? Can anybody say for a certainty that this guy even has an ICBM or a nuke? These are things that we have to ponder before we just go off gallivanting into harm's way. Last week, China charged that the USS Hopper, a guided missile destroyer, sailed within 12 miles of Scarborough Shoal, a reef in the South China Sea claimed by Beijing, though it's far closer to Luzon in the Philippines. The destroyer said China was chased off by, the destroyer says China was chased off by one of her frigates, and if we continue to contest China's territorial claims with U.S. warships, eventually a clash is going to be inevitable. And in a similar instance on Monday, Russian military jet came within 5 feet of a U.S. Navy EP-3 Orion surveillance plane in international airspace over the Black Sea, forcing the Navy plane to end its mission. U.S. relations with Cold War ally Pakistan are now at a rock bottom. As a matter of fact, in his first tweet of 2018, President Trump charged Pakistan with being duplicitous and a false friend, which is the truth, but in foreign policy circles, you handle that privately and not on Twitter. Now, the argument goes, well, we tried it privately, and this is what it got us. So Trump's trying to be overt. He's trying to be transparent. I get it. But in his tweet, he said, the United States has foolishly given Pakistan more than $33 billion in aid over the past 15 years, and they've given us nothing but lies, deceit, and thinking of our leaders as fools. They give safe haven to terrorists we hunt in Afghanistan with little help, no more. Well, that's good. That's part of the problem. Now just pull our troops out, bring them home, and let's truly make it a defense, a military built for defense, not offense, defense, the way it's supposed to be. You know, that's the thing that people don't realize. Before World War II, the DOD was called the Department of War. And it was only because we were so war weary as a nation that, you know, people with Bernaysian backgrounds went and said, okay, well, you don't like Department of War, do you? Well, we'll just call it Department of Defense then, because that's what we're doing. We're defending freedom and democracy. Now, this whole defending freedom and democracy goes back to World War I and Edward Bernays, who basically invented public relations to garner support of the U.S. population for entrance into World War I. And he actually used a statement very close to that to achieve that means. And it's wrong. It's wrong to employ these control tactics. And let me tell you something, folks. It's something they've been doing for a long time. You take a look at Gustav Le Bon's work in the 19th century. That's basically what Bernays modeled his blueprint for propaganda on. It was Le Bon and his uncle, Sigmund Freud. And he came up with his books Crystallizing Public Opinion in 1923 and then in 1929, Propaganda. And it's all built on understanding how humans behave in a crowd. And if you can control the crowd, well, then you got society under your thumb. And that's exactly what they did. And that's what they do today. They use the same playbook. It says here, Saturday, an ambulance exploded in Kabul, killing 103 and wounding 235. Taliban, of course, took credit for it. It says if Pakistan is indeed providing sanctuary for terrorists of the Haqqani network, how does this war end successfully for the United States? It doesn't. Russia found that out. We're now in our 17th year in Afghanistan, right? 17th year. Let's just put that in perspective. 17 years. Iraq, 15 years ago. We've been in Iraq 15 years. We've been in Afghanistan 17 years. Hell, we're in Africa. We're in Niger. We've got 1,000 troops in Niger. To the point where Lindsey Graham, Warhawk Lindsey Graham, was like, you know, this is crazy because I didn't even realize how many people are. I didn't even realize we had troops in Niger. Good grief. I mean, that is what we're dealing with here. We are dealing with a military that is not controlled by Congress, that's not controlled by the executive branch, the commander-in-chief, but it's controlled by the generals. Because our military has been spread so far in so many different directions that they can't possibly keep track of everything. So the generals have to control it all. And of course, what are generals going to do? Well, they're going to wage war. That's what they're supposed to do. Folks, we need a come to Jesus moment in this country, something awful. We need to understand that it is not our place in the world to force our will upon everybody else, every other country, to steal their resources, to force them to conform to a way of life that they may not want to live. It's wrong. There's nothing wrong with having a strong defense. Nothing wrong with that. And with today's technology, it is absolutely asinine to have as many troops and as many bases and as much equipment spread all over the world doing what it's doing when all it's doing is flushing money down the toilet and causing a bunch of people tremendous hardship, both here and overseas. So this is something that we really have to look at and have that day of reckoning when we say, this is unsustainable. We're never going to win. We are bankrupt. And we have more problems at home than we know what to do with. So why don't we focus on our problems at home? Like I said, there's nothing wrong with having a strong defense. But what we don't need is to be an empire. And unfortunately, folks, no matter how you cut it, if you look at history, we are the textbook definition of what an empire is. Regardless of how you sell it, regardless of what you believe, if you look at the United States and its actions in the 20th century and the 21st century, we are an empire. And we're bankrupt. So put some pressure on your non-representing representatives and let them understand, hey, look, we're not for this. We have too many issues at home. Let's take care of it. And maybe we'll get some traction, but apathy's never going to solve the problem. I'm Joe Joseph. This was thedailysheeple.com's News Shot. Feel free to comment below and visit our website, thedailysheeple.com. Hashtag wake the flock up. Have a great day.